I'm the man in the yellow hat and the orange beard. I am Vincent van Gogh. I loved painting sunshine, but often felt gloomy. I never sold a painting, but today my work is loved and admired all around the world. Hello, here. Over here, yes, here I am. That's right, here, in the old wooden crib. That's me. My name is Vincent. Vincent van Gogh. Can you get your mouth round that? I've just been born. I was born here in Holland, so that makes me a Dutch boy. Do you know where Holland is? It's a small country, much smaller than England, at the top of Europe. And do you know what Holland is famous for? Windmills. Here's one outside our window. Holland is a very flat and windy country, so it's terrific for windmills. What else can I tell you about Holland? Oh, yes, flowers. We have lots and lots of flowers here, especially tulips. And, oh, look, my mother has picked some from the garden and put them in a pot. Let me introduce you to my parents. This is my father. He's called Theodorus, and he's a preacher. He works in a church in our village, and he reads the Bible every day. And here is my mother, Anna, knitting in her chair. Can you see? She's wearing clogs, like lots of people around here. When I was 8 years old, I started to go to the local village school near our house. I didn't join in much with the games in the school playground. I always preferred being on my own. There was such a lot to see. I was much happier staring at the fields of brightly colored tulips and the tall trees standing straight in the distance, or looking at the white clouds as they whizzed by. Sometimes I would look for beetles or spiders, or just watch birds as they collected twigs and food. But always alone, always looking, seeing for myself, by myself. After I had finished school, my uncle helped me to get my first job, working in his art gallery in The Hague, one of Holland's biggest cities. The gallery bought and sold paintings and drawings, and it was here that I started to learn about artists and the different sorts of pictures that they painted. After a few years in the art gallery, I got bored and decided to try something different. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I became a teacher in a boarding school in England. I taught French, German, and even English. But here, I'm teaching a maths lesson. On a visit home to Holland to see my parents, I began to read the Bible every day, just as my father always did. I read about Jesus and his mother Mary, and after thinking about it, I decided I really wanted to become a preacher, like my father, so that I could help the poor and ill people and live my life in the service of God. But it didn't really work out, and I gave up after a short while, still not knowing what to do, still looking for something. But how can you look for something when you don't know what it is? I had tried lots of jobs. None of them made me happy. What did I really want to do with my life? I thought and thought. And then it came to me. Painting. I'd looked enough. Now I wanted to show what I had seen. I wanted to spend my life painting. Oh, that would make me happy. So I went to an art school to learn how to paint properly, and I practiced painting all the time. Then I found I couldn't stop. After a few years living in the Dutch countryside and painting every day, I decided to leave Holland with its windmills, its grey skies, water and tulips, and go and live with my brother Theo in Paris. So I set out with my heavy bag, stuffed full of paints and brushes and canvases. I would be joining my favorite brother in the big city. Was it an adventure? It should have been. There was an exciting group of painters in Paris. My brother, who knew some of these painters, arranged for me to meet them. Now that photographs could make pictures look so real, painters had to find new ways to make pictures. We discussed new ideas and new ways to paint. The great Paul Gauguin, shaking my hand in this picture here, became an especially good friend of mine, and we often stayed up late arguing about new ways to paint. My brother Theo was 3 years younger than me, and we were always the best of friends. He had a good job and often gave me money because no one was buying my paintings. In Paris, we shared a place in the middle of town, and, oh dear, I think Theo got a bit annoyed with me and my messy ways. I'd never clean up. He is very neat and tidy and well organized and likes everything in its place. After 2 years in Paris, I wasn't getting on at all well with Theo, and I found I missed the flowers, the fields, and the animals of the countryside. But I longed to get some sunshine into my pictures, so I went south to a French town called Arles, where I found that the hot sun made me look at colors in a different way. I started to paint pictures full of sunshine. Look at this. This is one of my favorite pictures. It's my bedroom in my new hometown of Arles. It is a very cozy room with a comfy bed, and I've got an extra chair from my friend Gogh. And it's full of color. My room. My way of seeing it. Who cares if nobody buys it? It's mine anyway. Here I am painting one of my best pictures. The farmers were busy harvesting the corn. The fields were a patchwork of gold and yellow, and the animals and birds seemed in a playful mood. And there were sunflowers everywhere. Sun and flowers. I was so happy I painted pictures as fast as I could. Sunflowers. Oh, I love them. When I knew my friend Gauguin was coming to visit, I went out and I picked 14 big, fat, heavy, oily yellow sunflowers from the field and painted this picture for him to hang in his room. I used huge squirts of yellow paint for this, and I splodged the paint on very thickly. It's like the sunflowers had trapped all the warmth and color and power of the sun. Today, it is one of the most famous paintings in the world. Then, nobody cared that much. Even though I preferred the country life to the city, and my painting gave me great pleasure, at the same time I sometimes felt rather gloomy and sad. I can't explain why. I used to stay up in the local cafe, talking with people until late in the night. One of those people was my friend Paul Gauguin, the one I gave the sunflower picture to. After I met him in Paris, he came down to Arles so that he could paint with me. We enjoyed the bright colors and warm weather together. But we both had strong ideas about things, and we often argued. He thought he was a better artist than me, and that really got to me. Who cares who's a better painter? Who cares about whether you can make money from painting? I just do it, that's all. I can't stop. After a particularly bad row with Paul, I was in a terrible state. I went back to my room in the house where I lived and, well, then I cut my ear. A bit came right off. I felt very, very bad, and I can't explain why I did it, but I just felt I had to do it. Well, after that, I knew I needed to get some help, so I asked if I could go and live at the nearby hospital. I still painted, though, While I was there, I did lots of pictures of the gardens, of the other patients, and of myself with my ear in a bandage. I am sad here. The sun's gone, and it's cold, and my ear is still very sore. I can't get rid of my sad feeling, and I'm disappointed because I had so wanted to find happiness in art. Now I don't want to paint sunny pictures anymore. By the way, have you noticed that I've painted myself with the bandage on the wrong ear? That's what happens when you paint your reflection. Try it for yourself. Go to a mirror and hold your right ear. In your reflection, you're holding your left ear. Let me show you another picture I did while I was in hospital. It's called Starry Night, and I did it all from my memory, or my imagination. The stars are shining very brightly, and the sky is full of movement, while the little town lies quiet and still in the darkness. Nobody took much interest in this kind of painting when I did it. But today, this is a picture that everyone knows. Why? My whole life long, Theo, my brother and dearest friend, had always taken care of me. He lends me money to buy paint and to buy food when I am hungry. We write lots of letters to each other, and of course, when I cut my ear, he was very worried about me. When I came out of the hospital, he said the best thing was that I should move to live near him. That's why I took the train to Auvers, a village outside Paris where Theo was waiting for me. He knew a nice, kind doctor who lived in the village of Auvers with his daughter. His name was Dr. Gogh, and he was a great art lover. He welcomed me into his house and promised Theo he would look after me. This is my portrait of Dr. Gogh. People say he looks gloomy there, with the plants that he uses to make medicine. I just say this is Dr. Gogh as seen by me, Vincent van Gogh. I painted a lot when I was at Dr. Gogh's, but it didn't cheer me up. I still wasn't feeling well in my head, and I was very muddled up. One hot night, I decided to go for a walk in the woods. One last time. I was only 37 years old. Here's Gogh and his daughter and Theo with me afterwards. I had to do it. End it all. It was an illness. Would I have been a different painter had I not been ill? I don't know. The strange thing is that during my life, no one understood my way of painting or my way of seeing things. But today, more than 100 years after I lived, I'm one of the most famous painters in the whole world. And my paintings give so many people great pleasure and happiness. Hey, you should go and see them. Vincent van Gogh.